What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be the first video of a little series I do of tier lists. So that today's going to be the SMG tier list. And then tomorrow I'll probably do long-range AR tier list. And then the day after that I'll probably do like mid-range AR tier list. But yeah, this is going to be the first video here. So I'm going to talk about all the different SMGs and why I rank them, where I rank them. I'm not going to go into super big detail about all of that, but I will show some stats on why I think what I think. Most of it's data-driven decisions, especially for SMGs. So I can actually show my reasoning for a lot of that. But yeah, let's jump into it. So keep in mind, all of these opinions are my own. You're allowed to have a different opinion on these things, but this is just my personal opinion video on where I think these things stand based on the stats and just my usage. I've used all the guns a decent amount, so. Also, they'll all be for Warzone. I don't really play multiplayer, so all of the stuff I talk about in this video will be with respect to Warzone. Alright, so let's jump into it. So the AUG, I think, is pretty severely underrated in Warzone. It has a fantastic TTK. It actually is really controllable. It's even more controllable than the MP5, which gives it that little bit extra range if you need it, in my opinion, again. And I'm talking about the 5.56 conversion. I'm not even going to talk about the regular AUG because I don't see really any reason to use the 9mm AUG over the 5.56 AUG. So yeah, I put this in very viable, and it's close to meta in my opinion. I think it's extremely good. But yeah, let's jump over to the data and I can show you why I think that. So this is a chart of the AUG and the MP5. So the AUG is orange, MP5 is green. This is extremities shots, so not chest shots. So you can see that the AUG actually kills faster and has more range than the MP5 if you hit extremities only. Now, obviously that's not the only spot you're going to be hitting people. So if we switch it over to chest, and you can toggle all these off. I have every SMG plotted here, and you can click them to toggle them off. I don't know if you knew that, but little TrueGameData tip there. But back to the AUG, it kills a little bit slower than the MP5 with chest shots, but the average DPS of the AUG is right up there at the MP5, and I don't know if people don't know that, but the issue with the AUG is it's hard to get the mobility down, it's hard to get the ADS times down, and still have a big mag to be able to fight people. So really it's mobility and ADS that hold it back, but TTK wise it keeps up with the MP5, and I've had a blast using the gun, and I do think it's a little more accurate than the MP5 at range. So if you have somebody 25 meters away and you need to shoot them and you have the AUG out, I would rather have that than the MP5 for sure. Okay, so next up is the Fennec. The Fennec's similar to the AUG in that it's held back by the mag size. So to keep the ADS time down on the AUG, you kind of need to use the 30-round mag instead of the 60-round drum mag. The Fennec doesn't even have that option, only has the 60-round drum mag. And it also shoots way faster than the AUG. So you actually get more damage per magazine out of the AUG with the 30-round mag than you do with the Fennec with the 40-round drum mag. Fennec does have a really good TTK though. It's its one redeeming feature. Kills really fast, really high DPS. But the fact that you run out of ammo so quickly and it has such low bullet velocity, which means if you ever have to shoot someone at 25 meters, if they're running sideways, you literally have to lead the person. For me, I don't like the Fennec at all. I think it's I'll give it a sort of viable because of its good TTK. It'd probably be okay in solos, maybe duos, but overall it's not very good. Let's hop over to the chart. So here's the damage per mag data. This is with the base 25 round mag, but even with the 40 round drum mag, it still does 1,000 damage per mag, which is, still like what 14% ish less than the AUG. So it just doesn't do enough damage. But like I said, it does have good TTK. So this is a chest TTK chart. Again, green is MP5, pink is the Fennec. So you can see in chest shots, it actually beats the MP5, which is good. Then if we switch over, this is stomach shots. Let's check chest shots. So if I turn these all off again. So if we do chest shots, again, it beats the MP5. And then leg shots, I think they're pretty close. I'm comparing everything to the MP5 because the MP5 is the meta SMG that everyone uses. So yeah, it's a little slower than the MP5 with extremities shots. But it's okay again for solos, but I wouldn't use it in anything but solos. Okay, next up is the ISO. The ISO for an SMG, when you're trying to use SMGs like SMGs up close, you need a good TTK, and the ISO has a really bad TTK. It's unique. It's pretty accurate if you kit it out for accuracy, but it's kind of just like a worse P90 everywhere. So I'm gonna give the ISO a really bad. I think the ISO is really bad. So compare it to the MP5. So where's the ISO? Compare it to the MP5. Look at that TTK difference. Like the ISO inside the, when you have an SMG, you're trying to push people, you're trying to rush rooms, you're trying to get close to them, and you need good TTK in that situation. And the Fennec, or not the Fennec, the ISO just really, really does not have good TTK. It's really slow, and that just doesn't work for an SMG. So, and when I say it's a little bit worse than the P90 everywhere, you see how it has pretty good range. That first damage range goes all the way out to 16.5 meters with no attachments. But if you compare it to the P90, it just has a little more range. But so the P90 is pink and the ISO is cyan. So the P90 kills a little bit faster, all the way out to 12.8 meters. And when you kit these both out for range, the P90 gets pretty close to the same range as the ISO. So these are all no attachment builds on this chart. But in general, if you look at all the stats, once they're both kitted out, the ISO is kind of just a bad P90, and the P90 is not great to start with, so it's just not a good gun. On to the Bizon. So the Bizon is again similar to the ISO, has a really bad TTK. It does come with that standard huge mag, the 64 round mag, which is awesome, and it's decently accurate. It's similar to the ISO in accuracy, but overall, I think the Bizon's pretty bad, again, just because it has that bad TTK up close. I mean, it's hard to get away from that with an SMG because you're always fighting up close to people. You're always trying to push buildings with SMGs, and if you don't have a TTK that can beat an AR's TTK, then you don't really have an advantage even if you catch them off guard and they have an AR out. So you really need a good TTK, but I'm going to give the Bizon not viable. It's just not a good gun, in my opinion. So here's the plot again against the MP5. MP5's green. This beige color is the Bizon, and then the cyan is the ISO. Just to compare it to the ISO, which I was just talking about. And you see the Bizon's kind of like the P90. It's a little bit faster than the ISO and a little bit shorter range. But I don't see a reason to use the gun really, so that's why it's not viable. Okay, now onto the P90. The P90 I have a soft spot for because I'm a huge Stargate fan, and that's what they used in the show. So there's gonna be a little bias in this, but the P90 I think is a laser beam in this game. It is ridiculously accurate, and that obviously, even though the TTK is not great up close, you can't really use it as an SMG because the TTK is not very good. I'll show you the charts in a second, but you can kind of use it as almost like an AR, like a close range AR. So out to like 30 meters, 35 meters, you can beam people with the P90. And that forge stack retribution barrel gives it ridiculous bullet velocity, and it's just, I keep saying this, but it's just a laser beam. And I've had a blast using the P90. I don't really think it's very viable, just because of the TTK, and if you compare it to like a Ram 7, the Ram 7 just destroys it everywhere. But I still had a ton of fun using it, and I love the gun, so it's going to get a sort of viable. So now let's look at the P90 on the chart compared to the MP5. So obviously MP5 way faster in that first damage range, as it usually is compared to other SMGs, but P90 takes over at like 9 meters and then basically stays at same TTK as the MP5 all the way out. But obviously the P90 gets extended a bunch by monolithic and the forge stack barrel, which is the only way I pretty much ever use it. That the forge stack barrel with the crazy 110% bullet velocity benefit that no other weapon has with any attachment. I'm still not sure if that's a bug or a feature, which is kind of the motto of this game at this point. But it's really unique in that it makes the gun feel like hit scan anywhere you're going to use it inside like 50 meters. So P90's fun, definitely fun, not very viable, but fun. Okay, so the next one is the Striker 45. Striker 45 is a longer range SMG again, but it's another one of those guns kind of similar to the P90 where if you just compare it to a Ram 7 or an M4, it's just worse everywhere. So for that reason, besides mobility, but for that reason, I'm gonna give it another really bad. I just think it's very almost unusable in Warzone. It's just not a good gun. Hopping over to the TTK charts again, MP5 is now cyan. I changed the chart, so the color of the MP5 changed. But Striker 45 is this green, dark green color. And chest shots, you can see the MP5 wins all the way up to 17.5 meters with no attachments. And the ISO is a longer range SMG. It's supposed to be or not the ISO. The Striker is a longer range SMG, so it's supposed to be better at range. And it's a little bit better out there, but it's just like, it's not worth it to use a long range SMG instead of just using an M4 or something along those lines, because the M4 is going to beat it everywhere. So the Uzi, the base Uzi, I'm not going to talk about because it's not very good, but the ammo conversion Uzi with the 41 AE rounds, it's actually okay as like an AR replacement. It's not great, but it's okay. I'll show you the TTK charts, and it's really accurate, which is another benefit, obviously. Accuracy makes things much better at range, which is partially why the P90, I feel like, is better than a TTK chart will tell you, because you're flinching people at 900 RPM because you're not missing, and it's also really accurate. So the Uzi has similar things going for it. It's really accurate, doesn't shoot as fast, but it has decent TTKs. Still not as good as like a Ram 7. Ram 7 on a chart is still going to beat it everywhere, but the Uzi's probably a decent bit more accurate for most people. So I'm going to give the Uzi a I'm torn between very viable and sort of viable. I give it like right in between, but we're going sort of viable. I'm leaning sort of viable instead of very viable. It's decent. I'd still just use an AR over it 95% of the time, but I know some people love the Uzi. It is really accurate. Jumping over to the charts, MP5 cyan, Uzi's this dark blue green color. Kind of hard to see, but you can see the Uzi, because the open bolt delay doesn't keep up with the MP5. If it didn't have the open bolt delay, then it would be much closer. But I've confirmed this multiple times that it does have an open bolt delay. When you pull the trigger, it doesn't fire right away. But yeah, you can see it's a little better long range, and like I said, it's really accurate, so it's decent. It's a decent gun. So I keep referencing throughout this video that all these long-range SMGs just get beaten by the Ram 7 everywhere. I'm going to use the M4 as a comparison rather than the Ram 7, because I think a lot of people have trouble controlling the Ram 7's recoil. So this is a chart of just 3 of those long-range SMGs. So we have P90 as pink, Uzi as green, Bizon as cyan, and then the M4 is orange. So you can see on this chart that the M4 just literally out TTKs these guys everywhere, all the way out. The Uzi 41 AE rounds beat it for like a split second. But this is why I say that if I'm ever trying to get a long range SMG, I'm just going to use a Ram 7 or an M4, because the Ram 7 is faster than the M4 everywhere by like 5-10% at least. So it's even better than this, and I like the Ram 7 recoil personally. So yeah, I just don't see a reason to really use these long range SMGs. MP5, everybody knows where this one's going. It's meta. It's meta for a reason, and that reason is that it has good mobility, a decent sized magazine, and really fast TTK. All those 3 things combined make it's the best SMG for sure, for SMG like things. It's a very good gun, obviously, and I've been comparing everything to the MP5, so I don't really feel like I need to show charts, but it's just those 3 things: that it can have high mobility, good ADS time, and still have good hip fire and really good TTK that makes it's the best SMG for sure. The MP5 is the best SMG unless you compare it to the AS Val, which I would also say is a meta SMG, because you can't really use it as an AR. It doesn't have very much range at all. Just because it's not super accurate at range. It has good range on the TTK chart, but it's not easy to hit your shots at range with it. But the Val, I mean, I made a video about the Val, so you know how I feel about it, but the thing shreds. And again, you've seen all these TTK charts I've been talking about. Look at this TTK chart. The Val is pink, the MP5 is orange. It just blows it out of the water in every category. And that's why I love the Val, because I'm so confident to run into a building with the Val out, because I know that people are going to have MP5s, and I know that I can just, if we both shoot relatively at the same time, I'm going to win the fight every single time. Obviously, ammunition with the valve is an issue. You have to run a gun that shoots slower, a main AR that shoots slower, so you have more ammo, or you have a 200 round drum mag or something like that. But it's just the TTK alone is what makes the valve so dominant. But if you have to run an SMG, MP5 is the best for sure. All right, well, like I said, I'm going to be doing a little mini series here with my tier lists for all the weapons. So I'm starting with SMGs. Tomorrow I'll probably do the long range ARs. When I say ARs, I don't just mean ARs. I'll also be doing LMGs. So basically long range automatic main weapons. And then I'll do like mid range all round ARs the day after that. And then I might do snipers. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know if you guys want to see snipers as well, including marksman rifles. But yeah, that's my tier list. The one on here that I'm not positive about would be the Uzi. I would maybe put this one here at very viable because it's better than the P90. I mean, it's pretty much hard to argue that it's better than the P90. I just like the P90 a lot, so a little bias there. But yeah, the Uzi's kind of between these two, but I'll leave it there. I'll leave it at very viable. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. Let me know if you want to hear, or if you want to see more stats on like mobility and things rather than just TTKs. But I just think TTKs are like the most important thing almost with SMGs, so that's why I talked about it so much. But yeah, if you have suggestions or tips for how I could make these videos better, just let me know in the comments. All right, guys, thanks.